what do you guys do for your oil changes? Do you do them yourself? How's it going, everybody? Today's March 24th, and if you know what happened today, well, I mean, just look around. We have about 4 or 5 inches of snow here at home, and kind of ruined my vibe for riding. The rest of this week looks pretty good, so hopefully the sun comes out later on and melts this stuff away. Which, I mean, if the highways don't put a bunch of sand down, that actually could clean up the roads a bit. But I mean, it's still early, it's still treacherous out there, so if you do plan on riding up in the Alberta region here anywhere over the next couple weeks, I mean, just for the sake of all of us, just be careful. Nobody knows you're out there yet. Nobody's expecting bikes. I know we're all going stir crazy with this COVID thing, and hopefully everybody's safe and everybody's healthy, and yeah, hopefully your jobs haven't been affected too heavily by it. Yeah, I figured it'd be a good time to just kind of throw the camera up and have a little discussion and throw my input in on a couple topics, I guess, as I'm going. So I was out riding, Sunday here. It was beautiful, and I kind of forgot, and I was like, man, when's the last time I did my oil? Because I know I went down to Montana and stuff in October with Andrew, and when I got back, I did some rides with you guys and with the Victory guys and stuff, and rode down to Stettler, and couldn't remember when my last oil change was, but luckily I always use my my trip meters. I generally use Trip A to calculate my fuel distances anytime I fill up. I reset Trip A, and Trip B I reset when I use when I do my oil. So I had 500-600K on it, so perfect. I'm good for the season. Now I know some people like to say, you know, change your oil in the fall, leave it over winter, or don't change it and just leave it over winter, and then come spring put fresh oil in it. I mean, there's merit to it. I mean, if you end up getting some water, some humidity down on the bottom of the crankcase, bottom of the engine, things like that, it can cause issues with your oil. So generally just checking it, making sure that it's clean still or whatnot. I mean, do what you want to do. It's your bike. But, you know, start of the season, I generally will check my dipstick, take a look, make sure it's still clean. I didn't. I mean, I looked under my bike and there was no oil under it, so there's probably still oil in it. But I wanted to tell you kind of what oil I use, why I use it versus something else, and what I have found with that oil, pros, cons, things like that. So I work with Rotella, the T4 conventional oil, 1540 weight, and realistically that's a diesel oil, but it meets all the the Jayco whatnot specifications for the clutch, this, that, and the other. I know guys like to use T5, T6, you know, the synthetic blend T5, the full synthetic T6, and everybody has their own opinions on it. The reason I went with the T4 versus, say, the Victory oil change kits was ultimately due to cost. I mean, the Victory oil change kits run upwards of $80-90 bucks. You can find it cheaper sometimes, but where I live, there's nothing readily available. I mean, I have to go to Edmonton or Fort Saskatchewan, something like that, go out to Elk Island, and I'd just rather not. So what I did is I bought two buckets of the T4 when it was on sale at a UFA. I mean, it cost me like 70-75 bucks per pail. sense, the compounds and everything, probably start to break down because I can feel it in my clutch. If I'm really beating on the bike, I can get a bit of slip and my clutch heats up a little faster. I mean, if you're riding normally, even a little bit aggressive, I don't think it's ever going to be a problem. But I kind of beat on my bike pretty hard. I mean, I don't kind of, I do. So I'm going to look at trying a different oil once I finish off my my pails. I've probably got half a pail left here. So probably midsummer and end of the season, I'll probably go through another 3 or so oil changes, empty out my my stock. So I don't know what I'm going to try, if I'm going to just try the synthetic blend, the T5, or try the full synthetic T6. But I wanted to know what your opinions were on that. What have you guys noticed? Have you noticed any slippage or any just changes in how your bike feels? Even at the higher mileage, I notice more of that engine tick. It becomes more predominant, not just necessarily at startup, but as even when the bike's warm and I park it. Well, hey guys, welcome back. I ended up pulling over for a wide load at a bridge in a corner, and then ended up taking a phone call for about 45 minutes. So I don't really remember what I was saying at the end there. Ultimately, I've had good luck, and I've been happy with running the T4 oil. Never really had any problems with it. So if you guys got any recommendations regarding the T5, T6, or others, I mean, it doesn't have to be Rotella. I'm not brand loyal by any means that way. Yeah, let me know. You know, you can message me, throw me a DM on Facebook Messenger, or in the comments here on the video. It's always good to strike up a conversation. Something else I was wondering about is, have you set up something elaborate like Paul Parmerlo does there, where he's got the two wood blocks that he sets up, he lifts the bike onto, and lifts the bike up, you know, about 5-6 inches off the ground there. I mean, that's really nice to get under. It gives you more room to work. Myself, I usually just do it on the ground. I stick a 2x4 under my kickstand to level the bike out a bit. That, or if it's already up on my bike hoist or my lift, I can do the oil on there as well. Easier on the back. I mean, I'm still young, but I've done some damage. My back's not as good as it once was, and my knees are bad too here. So I still work with the drain plug. I have noticed that being aluminum crankcase and the steel or alloy, whatever it is, of the drain plug, with the grit and everything underneath the bike, it's starting to thread in a little more difficult. You know, I think the first couple threads are starting to get chewed up. I'm a classic over tightener. I over torque like crazy. I've started to learn my lessons. Torque wrenches aren't good. I'm looking at maybe just utilizing one of my my oil extractors that I have available to me, or just buying another one for myself and just start using the oil that way. I know from what I've read, most people say it doesn't quite get all of it, but the bikes, I'm pretty sure we, as a whole, generally do our oil changes earlier rather than later. I mean, there's some of us that run the oil life quite long. Kevin Munsey and stuff like that. I know he brings oil with him when he does trips, but if he can't get the oil done on the exact mileage, I mean, you run it longer. It is what it is. These bikes have been so strong. The motors, everything are so well built that it doesn't take much to keep them running healthy. One thing I wish that Victory did do or include on the bikes, or even make an option, would be an actual gauge display display for engine temp or oil temperature. I mean, it wouldn't be hard to put one into the oil cooler or into the sump or wherever it needs to go. I've got one of those dipstick thermometer doohickeys from Victory. They take them with a grain of salt. I really don't think they truly give you the proper oil temperatures. But it's interesting to see what the bikes run. I mean, when it's 0 degrees out and I'm running down the highway, given a wind chill values and stuff like that, it's generally holding temperature indicated around 180 or so, 190. In the summer, I see it upwards of 240 when it's hot out. Now, hot for me is anything above 20. I'm pansy when it comes to heat. I don't like heat. I prefer riding in the weather that we have now. 10 degrees down to 0. I mean, if it's sunny and 0, I'm more than happy to ride. When myself and Andrew went down to was it Montana or whatever there in October, when we left Calgary in the morning, it was -5. The bikes had frost all on them. We got down south of the border. The snow in the ditches there was windrows 6 foot, 7 foot high. Yeah, we were cold. I mean, Andrew more so. That poor guy doesn't have any heated grips or heated seat. He'd get mad at me when I was complaining. We'd hit town or something, and it would cool. It would warm up because we were slowing down, and my hands would start sweating in my snowmobile gloves or whatever. And I'd tell him over the mic. I'd say, "Hey, I turned my heated grips off. My hands are getting sweaty." He'd mutter a couple words under his breath, and that's pretty funny. But take it easy, guys. If you're getting out early this spring here, just be careful. Ride within your limit. Ride your own ride. Hopefully everything's good, and